So there are. This one, of course, means this is just to return home. Let me turn English on. To return home. This means to. This means to change something. This means to exchange something, like currency, for example. This means, oops, sorry. This also means to change something. But this is the one which is to do with, sorry, let me just try and explain this. This means to literally alter the state of something. And this means to change something like the location of something. For example, like giving a telephone back to somebody. And it's this one which becomes the transitive verb, kaesu, to give something back. Give me a second. To give something back. This one I'm not really sure of. Hang on a second. It might be interesting to find out for me as well, though. Kaeru. Actually, this one's not even in the dictionary, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure which one this one is here. But kaeru. No. Yeah, so that's the one which is to give something back to somebody. Kaesu. Yeah.
Okay.
If you borrow somebody's telephone, so for example, if your wife is talking to somebody, and then she gives you the telephone and says, "Speak to somebody," and you pick up and say, "Hello, yes, this is Yanis, da 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 da," and then you give the phone back to your wife. You say to the person, "Kaerimasu," which means the phone is changing rather than kaishimasu. You say "Kaerimasu," and then you give the phone back to your wife.
Okay.
Yeah. Harry, go ahead.
So on what occasion would you use kaisu? Only when you are returning goods to a shop, or when do you use kaisu?
Yeah, to give something back, to actually, it's almost like it's doing the exchange, really. Yeah, if you're just giving something back to somebody, when you actually give them the thing back to them, then you would say kaeshimasu. It's just that if you're using a telephone and you say kaerimasu, it means the line is changing rather than I'm giving it back.
So telephone is the exception.
Yeah, because it's the fact that you're passing the phone back isn't important. It's the fact that the conversation person is changing, which is what's happening. Yeah, but to give something back to somebody, this is also always kaesu. Kaesu.
Can I ask a question, please?
Sure.
It's a little bit Buddha related as much as it is language, because it was a discussion I was trying to have with my sensei the other day. If I was to say koshi ni kaete, so change your hips, yeah? Or is that wrong?
Koshi o kaete.
Koshi o kaete.
Yeah.
So would it then be koshi o kiri, or ni? So it's still koshi o kiri.
Yes. Yeah. Well, what's the technique exactly that you're trying to?
Well, let's say you're in a Zen Kutsudachi front stance.
Yeah.
You've got that very, very fast changeover.
Yeah.
So you're literally cutting.
Yeah.
To try to do it on the spot rather than doing like a sugihashi type of cut. So, because his English is virtually non-existent, and he was in Sapporo, we had a bit of a difficult translation time, trying to get the exact difference.
I think usually in Budo terms, this is, give me a second, I'll write it onto the screen. You would say, Koshi o henka suru, henka shimasu, or
Henka for the alternative.
yeah. Well, this just means change as well, really.
Right.
Or kenko or henko shimasu. Henka or henko. Yeah.
So koshi o henko shimasu. Okay.
I mean, this is called in martial arts generally, especially Aikido. This is called henka waza.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the word kaevasa comes from kaeru.
So that's this
Okay.
one here. This one.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Okay. Let us get started.
Just real
shall we?
quick, I
Yeah, go
googled
ahead.
that last kaeru, and apparently
one?
it means replace or substitute.
Ah, right. Substitute. Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Substitute. Thank you. Cool. Kawari needs. Right. So this is. So I think actually this is normally written as kawaru, isn't it? Then? Let's have a quick look. Oh, it's one of the writings of kawaru. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Hajime mashou. Right. So today, guys, what I would like to do is do revision of the present continuous tense, and then I'm going to introduce a really short lesson on the levels of politeness in Japanese, which will help us to understand the new topic for today, which is the potential form, which is the ability to do something. I am able to. Okay, so let us have a quick revision of what we did last week. Give me a second to just grab the screens. All right, give me a sec. Someone, there we go. ASAHI slides. Yep.
Oh man, 15 minutes to my walk.
15.
15.
Okay. Oh, let's let Sandy in. Do you have to leave when you get there?
Yes, of course.
Jessica? Why?
I can't work as a nurse and
listen.
be video speaking.
Well, I think you can. Okay.
I think they.
They might complain about it.
Yep, I think so.
Right. Sorry, give me a second, guys. Zoom's not playing ball. Okay, so I think this might have even been 2 weeks ago. We did to exist. So, for example, to say I am here, we would say koko ni imasu, and we use the iru verb, this group 2 verb. So if you wanted to telephone somebody and say, where are you? You would say doko ni imasu ka? And then for inanimate objects, for anything which isn't an animal or a person, then we would use aru for arimasu. So where is my phone? Koko ni arimasu, for example. And we can just use this to say there is something. So for the verb there is, something exists, we can just say, for example, densha ga arimasu. And also to say that I have something. I have money, I have keys, I have my phone. You can just say okane ga arimasu. I have time, jikan ga arimasu. And in those cases, for imasu and arimasu, these are what's called state verbs. They're not transitive verbs, and they're not really intransitive verbs either. They are state verbs. So they describe what you are, where you are, for example. So we always mark the location with ni. rather than de. And we also then did the present continuous tense to say, I'm doing something right now. Now I'm drinking tea. Now I'm talking to you. And we would do this really easily by turning the verb into the te form, the verb of what we're doing, drinking or reading or talking. Turn this into the te form and then put imas after it. And then to give it some emphasis to say that you're doing it right now, exactly right now, instead of saying ima, which just means now, you can say tadaima, which means right now, at this exact moment. And again, remember that any of these present continuous verbs are basically still state verbs because the imas is the principal verb in that sentence. So your location again should still be marked with ni. Okay, let's do a little bit of practice, shall we? Any questions on that, guys, before we practice these?
Andy?
Yeah.
Yeah, tadaima, is that used as a sort of casual greeting?
So when you return home, as you walk through the door, you say tadaima, which means I've just now arrived home. And then the person who's meeting you, maybe your partner or a murderer who's waiting for you to arrive home so they can kill you, will then say, "Okaeri inasai," welcome home. And then either give you a cup of tea or shoot you through the head, depending on, well, both are
Welcome in the
possible
work.
sometimes. So, sorry, Naska?
Or welcome in the work.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah, when you
So,
arrive at
bye.
Bokonoshi. Okay, see you soon. Take care. Nice hair. Okay, any other questions? Okay, let's give these a try then, shall we? So let me just open the window a little bit more. So Yanis, how would you say, I am studying Italian cooking? I'll write these on the board actually. Let me just grab some questions. Sorry, give me a sec. So this one just here. I'm studying Italian cooking.
Italian riori o.
Good. Yeah, exactly.
Benkyo shimasu.
So benkyo shimasu means I do.
Benkyo shite imasu.
Exactly. Yes. Good. Italio ryori o benkyo shite imasu. Can you say it one more time, please, Yanis?
Italian riori o benkyo shite imasu.
Excellent. And can you all say it together, guys, after three? Three? Dozo?
Italia. Okay.
Okay, it's okay. You can say it as well, Yanis.
Italian riori o
benkyo shite imasu.
Excellent. Good. Yari. Let's do Jerry is eating sushi in the restaurant right now.
Tadaima Yeri-san sushi o restauranto ni
Sushi.
tapete imasu.
Excellent. Restaurant ni tapete imasu. Excellent. Yes, perfect. Can you just read it one more time, please, Yari?
Tadaima Jerry-san wa sushi o restaurant ni tapete imasu.
Excellent. Tadaima Jerry-san wa sushi o restaurant ni tapete imasu. After three, everybody. Three.
Tadaima Jerry-san wa sushi o restaurant ni tabete imasu.
Perfect. Good. Okay.
Could you also say ima?
Yes, you can. So this ima or tadaima, all this is doing, so bear in mind that tadaima is really just a combination of tada and ima. It's still a kind of now. Tada just means just. So it literally means just now. But ima just means now. So it depends on how, if you want to really emphasize that it's happening this very second, then you should say tadaima. If you want to say now, today, I'm studying Japanese, then you can just use ima, for example.
Yeah, I took that because there's right now.
Exactly. Yeah. Now it's as this is like this. Yeah, exactly. Cool.
And, sorry, Sensei.
Yeah.
And also we can, after Jerry-san, we can put ga instead of wa.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. We can. Yeah. Stefan, how about this one here? I was on board the airplane at 11 a.m. yesterday. I thought I'd give you an easy one to start with, Steph. You're muted at the moment. Sorry, nothing you just said was heard, by the way. Sorry.
You can start by putting on some vocabulary.
Oh,
please.
sure. Okay. Right. So let's do some vocabulary. So airplane. Oh, actually, so that I don't annoy especially French people, because that's not the right spelling of airplane, is it? Aeroplane is hikoki. And do you remember yesterday?
Kino?
Yes,
That's-
kino.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Kino is yesterday. And now, when you say aboard or on board, all you need to say is, I am boarded. So it's the word for getting on a bus, getting on a train, getting on an airplane. Do you remember this verb?
No.
Noru.
No.
Yeah. To get on board.
That's a group 2 or
It's group one. It's group one.
Group 1.
Yeah.
I was on board the airplane yesterday. So, so I was on board the airplane. So yesterday, kino,
Good.
hikoki, hikoki o.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah, it could be location, right? Hikoki ni or hikoki o.
Both are fine, actually.
Okay. 11 a.m. Blanking completely.
Do what you think is ichinichi san shi go
Yeah.
roku shichi kyuju.
Yeah, but
+1.
But the AM part.
Asa no.
Asa no 11.
Yeah. 11 ji makes it o'clock.
The clock, right.
Yeah.
Asa no 11 ji. So kino.
And then, as this is a time reference, just like a location reference, we should put
ni
after it. Yeah, exactly.
And on board, so norimasu.
Norimasu. So this.
Norimashita.
Yeah, this is saying I boarded, but how would you say I was on board? So this is the present.
Present continuous. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Notte imashita.
Notte
Imashita.
imashita. Yeah, exactly. Notte imashita. Exactly. Good. One more time, please, Steph.
昨日hikokiを朝の11時に乗っていました。
Perfect. 昨日飛行機を朝の11時に乗っていました。はい、皆さんどうぞ。
昨日飛行機を朝の11時に乗っていました。
Good. You can also say gozen, not instead of asano. Oh, sorry, just gozen by itself. This means AM. Gozen.
Gozen means asa means.
So asa means morning. Excuse me. Yeah. Oh, come on. Asa is morning, and gozen means AM, and gogo means PM.
And so in Japan, they use the AM PM system or the 24-hour, the military time system?
They use everything actually. They usually they use AM PM actually more. Sometimes you say something like jugoji to mean 3 o'clock. It would be understood if you use the 24-hour system. And when they're writing, they often use gozen and gogo if they write times down on an information page. But when you're speaking, usually they say asa no. If you said asa no juji, then this sound, 10 o'clock in the morning. If you say sanji, well, what's the likelihood that you mean 3 o'clock in the morning? Usually you don't. So you don't usually say anything except sanji ni ikimashou, especially if you're going shopping. Unlikely that you're going to be doing it at 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. If you want to specify something's happening in the evening though, so you maybe 7 o'clock could be morning or evening that you're doing something, then you often say yoru no, which means night of. Yoru no chichiji ni keiko shimashou.
Yoru no gogo dancer ikimashou.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Is that the sort of thing you do?
I was just thinking gogo.
Oh, I see.
Amazing what those Japanese sensei want to do in the evening.
I thought you were talking about your part-time job then, Sandy. Okay, good. Right, let's move on.
Go, go, go.
Gogo o gogo ni ikimashou. Jill, how about the airport is very crowded at the moment?
So it's ima kuko wa.
Good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crowded, full of people, and
so there is actually a separate verb for crowding in.
okay.
You may know this from Iaido. It's komu. So this word fumikomi.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. This means to step in, to step close. Yeah.
So komu, ima komu kuko wa. So it's oh yes. Komu.
C'est le problème de thé.
Absolutely. Yeah. I have to read my notes.
Okay. Let's have a quick look at the for everybody's benefit. Let's have a quick look at that slide. Just a second.
The moods.
Where are we?
Here
we are.
Komate?
No, so it's a mu, which is the purple one.
Yes.
Which is this group down here.
Ah, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So it's Comday.
You got it?
It was arimasu.
So even for things which are inanimate, like airports,
yes.
If you're talking about the present continuous state of
yes,
this is still kondemas. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So use events. Okay.
Yeah.
So ima kuko wa kondeimasu.
Exactly. Yeah. Ima kuko wa kondeimasu.
Kondeimasu.
Good. Everybody together? Dozo?
Ima kuko wa kondeimasu.
Excellent. Good. Just to get the pronunciation right, so the kuko is a double u and it's a double o, so it's kuko.
Kuko.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the same thing with airplane. This is hikoki. Hikoki.
With that K-O-U,
Hmm.
are you making any attempt to pronounce the oo sound, or is it just an extended or?
It's just an extended or. This is something which is, how can I say, specific to certain words. So usually, if you're making this or sound, like or like this, then this is usually written in hiragana and also in the Hepburn system of Romaji as OU. But there are some words like big, which is oki, where the OO, I think especially if it's written if the or is at the beginning of the word, this isn't written as OU, this is written as OO, oki, rather than ouki. Yeah, its pronunciation is exactly the same, but there's a few words that start with OO instead of OU. I think that's the rule, actually. Yeah.
May I ask a question?
We see the OU in the middle of a word. It'd be safe to say we could pronounce it as the sort of extended or sound. And
it is exactly this. Yeah, it has to be this way. So even if, for example, this is going slightly into human linguistics than I prefer to go. But if you had, for example, hito uchi, this word here, so this is just a word I've made up. So this is person hitting, for example. You can see that if I put these two words together, it becomes hitochi. Oops, sorry, hitochi. Now, if I say this quickly, hitochi, 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 you can hear actually that you can't really distinguish the u sound anymore because it disappears into the o sound, hitochi. It's just, you can just about hear it if you know it's there, but if you didn't know it was there, you wouldn't really notice it. Yeah. Did somebody have a question then? Sorry.
Jari.
Yeah,
I was thinking about, is there sometimes in written the mark like ichi when they use two letters at the same?
Ah, right. So yeah, when we're writing in katakana,
I've seen sometimes something like that, and always thinking how it is.
Yeah. So let me just explain this then. When we're writing hiragana, which we use for Japanese words rather than foreign words, let's think of all of the extensions we have. So E is sometimes used. This means EE. Air is only used as a kind of exclamation. It kind of means yes, a bit like hi, but much more informal. Ooh is not really ooh. There isn't, and there aren't words which have ooh.
Shu, the weak.
Shu.
There's two ooh.
Shu. Sorry, yeah, but there isn't. That's not ooh. That's shu ooh.
Ah, okay, yeah.
So there isn't an ooh word, and then or. This is a word. This is OU. And also, as I said before, for words like big or is also written like this. Okay, A-E-I-O-U. There's no ah except in the midst of climatic pleasure. You might say ah, but otherwise it's just an exclamation. But when you're writing katakana, they don't use these extra vowels to give extension to the vowel. You write, excuse me, just turn on katakana. For example, E would be E, and then this like ichi, this stroke. Same for air, also be the same, or also the same, and oo or oo, even or oo. Or yeah, so even for these words where you have either or oo or, you still write it just as a stretch, this ichi, to make it longer. kana. Sorry, no. I beg your pardon. Sometimes Japanese people katakana-rize their names. So, for example, if you have a telephone directory, people's names will be written in kanji, and then almost certainly the pronunciation of the kanji, because it can vary depending on the person's name, almost always written with hiragana and katakana, and always written like this. So, for example, the word Otake, like Otake sensei, his name is written Otake when you write it in katakana like this. Yeah. Is that okay?
Can I just ask one quick question, please?
Sure. Yeah.
It's to do with the kuko wa kondemasu.
Mm.
I had written kuko wa totemo isogashi, thinking that would mean it was busy, crowded.
Isogashi è occupato.
Eh?
It means let me just write this in. Isogashi.
Yeah.
It means busy, but it means that you're preoccupied, really. Preoccupied. So you can use this for people.
Okay.
But you can't use it for places.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. You have to say crowded rather than busy. I mean, the whole busy for being preoccupied and busy for a place being crowded, is that unique to English? Steph? What's busy in French? Oh, you're muted again.
I think it's occupé.
So this a person, and then how about a place which is crowded? What would you say then?
Well, when you say occupé, it's like you have a meeting, so it's not exactly the same. Maybe there is a coordination. It's not. Yes, occupé. It's like a strike. In France, we have many strikes. So when you occupy something or a place.
Right. Oh, I see. Like Occupy Wall Street kind of. Yeah. And how about so if a station is busy, what would you say? Le gare.
Full.
Plein. It's full.
Full. Plein.
Plein.
Just full of.
Full. Oh, right.
Full of people.
Yeah.
I might have, if I didn't know, crowded. Ippai.
So you could say kuko ga ippai desu. You could say this actually. Yeah. Kuko ga hito. Kuko wa kuko hito ga ippai desu. Full of people. So you could use this. Yeah. So I think busy is possibly fairly particular to the English language, that it means both things, both occupied, preoccupied, and also crowded. Yeah. Is that okay, guys? Any other questions? See, we're learning French and all sorts of languages here. Can I remove this text here? Okay. Rob, I was in Vietnam 4 years ago. It was very humid.
4年前、ビエナム。
This is it's pronounced Betonam, I think. Yeah.
4年前、ベトナム。I was in Vietnam. ベトナム。いました。
Good. Ni. It would be ni imashita, right? Yeah. Ni imashita. Good. It was very humid.
暑く、humid.
暑い。
暑い。
So, okay. Ah, good. What did you say one more time?
蒸し暑い。
Mushiatsui. Yes, exactly. Mushi.
暑い。
Careful now. Not atsui deshita, but mushiatsu.
Kata.
Yes. And then we finish it with des. Excellent. Good. Mushiatsukata desu.
4年前、ビエナムにいました。蒸し暑かったです。
Perfect. 4年前 ベトナムにいました。蒸し暑かったです。Everybody together? どうぞ。
4年前、ベトナムにしました。蒸し暑かったです。
Very good. Cool.
Is
So the-
Atsukatta hot?
Yes.
Humid.
Yeah, let me just put this out then. So atsui usually means hot, not as in pleasant. This is unpleasantly hot. It's like if you say atsui, it's kind of like a complaint. And then musu is the word to steam, like when you're steaming food. So if you combine these together, musu becomes mushi, like mushimasu. And you put that next to atsui. This means humid.
Steaming hot.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Mushiatsui desu. Again, I think mushiatsui is also a kind of complaint. So if you go into a Turkish bath and it's really nice, if you say, oh, mushiatsui, it's kind of like saying it's too humid rather than saying it's nice and humid. That was specifically.
Is there a way to say that as a positive?
I think you would just say kimochi. Kimochi desu. Yeah. Stefan, are you speaking? Because you're muted. Oh, okay, just talking to yourself. Best chance of a sensible conversation. Okay, good. Rob. Oh, Rob, I've done you, haven't I? Sorry. Harry, last week in Nagasaki, I wasn't very glad.
Kyoshu? Kinoshu?
Senshu.
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 Senshu, Nagasaki ni.
Good.
What would we use for very, or do I just ignore that?
Let's just do the not very glad first, and we'll do the very afterwards, shall we?
So just not glad.
Not glad. Sorry. Yeah. Not glad. Sorry.
Tanoshi. Okay. Tanoshi.
So
Tanoshikata.
that means enjoyable. But to say I wasn't glad, you'll recognise this when it comes up. Yorokobu is a verb, which means to gladden. To become glad.
Right. Senshu Nagasaki ni wasn't glad. Your kobimash. I'm lost.
Okay, so it's yorokobu. So we need to turn this into the te form.
Oh, okay. Yorokonde imashita.
I wasn't.
Oh, wasn't. Yorokonde imasen.
In the past tense?
Imasen deshita?
Yeah, exactly. Imasen deshita. Yes, good. Senshu Nagasaki ni yorokonde imasen deshita. Now, here we've got this very here. If we make a positive statement, for example, if I said, I was glad, I was very glad, then this superlative very, there's a few ones you can use. The formal one, if you're speaking very politely or writing something down, you can use totemo. Sorry, not totemo, totemo. So you would say, for example, totemo yorokobimashita. For example, yorokonde imashita. I was very glad. But if we're doing the negative, we can't use this kind of superlative because this is a positive superlative. You have to use a negative superlative, which has probably got a special name in English grammar. Do you know what it's called?
No, I'm trying to think of it. It's not Timor. Amari?
Amari. Good. Yes, exactly. So amari is the negative, whatever the negative word of a superlative is. It's the opposite of totemo. There's almost certainly a word for it. It's not going to be superlative. So we would say amari instead of totemo in this position. So can you read that sentence again, please, Harry?
先週、長崎にあんまり喜んでいませんでした。
Excellent. 先週、長崎にあまり喜んでいませんでした。Everybody together? どうぞ。
先週、長崎にあまり喜んでいませんでした。
Excellent.
Andy, would the ni for Nagasaki ni, I might have said Nagasaki de. Is that wrong?
So you have to look at the final verb here, and it's imasen deshita, which is basically iru. This is a state verb. This is the primary verb of this sentence. This is the yorokobu. This is also a verb, but this is a secondary. This takes the position of what's called secondary verb within the sentence. This is the main one, really. So this actually controls everything else in the sentence. So as this is a state verb, we have to mark the location with ni. So if you remember, for iru, I'm just writing at the bottom of the screen now. Iru, aru, iku, iku, kuru, so to go, to come, kaeru. The objective location or the state location where you are always marked with ni rather than de. If you eat something somewhere, I will eat McDonald's, I will eat a burger at McDonald's, then you would use de. Or if you want to report in the past, I ate a burger at McDonald's, then you'd also use de, because the only verb in this sentence is taberu. There's no tabete imashita or tabete imasu or imasu or ikimasu. So you can use de in those instances. Is that okay?
Yeah, I'll have to learn it, but yeah, great, thank you.
Okay. Steph?
So for once, there is no particle to link very and glad when we add.
Right, yeah. So a superlative doesn't need a particle. So totemo, amari, taihen, all of these superlatives, they kind of act like adverbs by themselves. So you don't need any kind of particle with them. Yeah. So actually amari is a little bit like saying hardly. So if you said amari tabemasen deshita ne. This is, oh, you didn't eat much, did you? So you can just put it onto the beginning of verbs to say not very much, hardly. Amari. All okay, guys? Okay, let's power through, shall we? Let's see, Harry. Nathan, 3 years ago, I had an iPhone.
3年前に iPhone がありました。
Arimashita, yeah, exactly. Exactly. So we put this into the past tense. Good. Have I lost somebody from the... Somebody disappeared. Who have we lost?
Nazca.
Ah, okay. Right, she was still connected, was she? Right, okay. Cool. Sorry, Nathan, can you read that again, please? 3年前に iPhone がありました。
3年前に iPhone がありました。
And everybody together.
3年前に iPhone がありました。
Perfect. Good. Okay, good. Any questions, guys?
Sorry, Sensei.
Yeah.
In the last sentence, maybe I can translate like 3 years ago there was an iPhone.
Exactly. This is exactly the sentence if you literally translate it. It's just that depending on the context, it means there was an iPhone, I had an iPhone. Yeah. So if you want to say I have, you just use this arimasu. Arimasu.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a double use verb really to mean something existed or something was owned by somebody.
Mhm.
Yeah. Steph?
So if you just want to say 3 years ago, there was the iPhone 3, distincted from the iPhone 6 or whatever now.
It's basically the same sentence. Yeah. But you would have to be a little bit careful that this actually sounds like you had the iPhone 3.
Right.
If you wanted to, I mean, if you wanted to be, unless the other person who was listening understood the context of the sentence, say you were talking about the releases of certain phones, if they were aware of the context of the conversation, then you could just say "3年前にiPhoneがありましたね." Even that sounds like I owned one. You might want to say something like you might want to say something like 3 years ago the iPhone 3 was released, yeah, rather than there was an iPhone 3. So in that case, it would be better to actually translate "this was released" to be really clear about what you're saying. Yeah. Otherwise, in any case, it sounds like you had one actually. Yeah.
So a custom question. I mean, a habit question. I don't know the name. In Japan, do they often, when two Japanese people speak together, is it common to have precision question and question that you ask just to make sure that you understood precisely the meaning, or is it just so natural to really phrase everything carefully that, because they're also very vague? So
yeah, no, you're absolutely right. This is probably one of the reasons why the fact that Japanese language is very vague, and also this historic manners and etiquette thing means that most Japanese sentences do this. So you start off with a really kind of broad setting scenario explanation, and then you give a little bit more context, and then you make it relevant to the subject, and then you finally ask the question. So it's absolutely normal to set context and scenario first before asking something. In fact, it's seen as being more polite to do this anyway. It makes good conversation to not just say,
right,
"Were you in Kyoto last week?"
Right.
It's kind of a little bit interrogative if you say this.
Yeah.
Unless you were right in the middle of conversation about this, you wouldn't really ask this question. You would say, "Oh, by the way, I noticed that last week there was a festival in Kyoto, which was very nice. By the way, were you in Kyoto last week?" Like this. Yeah.
That's why we never go anywhere in seminars with the senseis, because they always stay at the very general explanation and we never zoom in.
Well, yeah, this is, I mean, even Japanese people are aware that there's this problem of constantly having to do this, and in business as well, which is why meetings take hours and nothing is decided until everybody leaves and then goes for a drink afterwards.
But one of the first things I noticed when I was in Japan, I thought, wow, it's all very vague. It takes a lot of time to figure out exactly what are we talking about here.
Yes.
And then particularly with that added thing, when you first arrive, they're not saying me, you, I. So I don't know who we're talking about, what we're talking about, or where, when.
Yeah, exactly. And this vagueness causes lots of problems, actually, especially if you're documenting a conversation. The meaning can be utterly opaque. And I mean, you can try this on, if you go into Google Translate and type a Japanese sentence in, copy it from somewhere and put it in, and look and see how much information is not there when you see it in your own language. It's amazing. It's amazing. It would just lose. There's just so much stuff which isn't in the sentence that you think, huh? Why is it talking about she when I never mentioned, when this sentence isn't even about she or a woman? And it would, Google Translate would just go, oh, I've seen this sentence before. I'm assuming it's a woman, and we'll just fill it in itself. But alternatively, if you put an English or a French or a Greek sentence into Google Translate, it translates it almost perfectly into Japanese because it has excess information. In fact, some of the Japanese sentence, you think, I don't need to say this. It'll have things like watashi wa, and you think, I know that I don't need this. So it will actually have redundant information rather than a lack of information. It's quite interesting. It's all about context. Yeah. Oh, Xander, you didn't have a problem yet, did you? Okay, let's throw one at you. Okay, this is a good one. Last Friday at 5 p.m, I was waiting for Henry.
Okay. What's Friday? I've even forgotten that.
Kinyobi.
Kinyobi, yeah. Kinyobi.
Not Kinyobu, sorry. Kinyobi. Yeah.
Kinyobi no goji.
Good. Goji.
Henry-san matemashita.
So for matsu, to wait, this is actually a transitive verb. So you can use o to mark the thing that you're waiting for or on. So you'd say Henry-san
O.
And the rest of it. Matemashita. Good, exactly. Matemashita. Good. And last Friday?
It's on the tip of my tongue.
This is actually a trap for you, Sandy. It's a bit of a trick question. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right?
Yeah.
So assuming that the normal week is this format, okay? So it starts on Monday and finishes on Sunday. If I ask this question of you on Sunday, if you said this on Sunday and you met Henry on Friday, what would you say?
Ashita no ashita.
That's tomorrow, day after tomorrow.
No, kino no kino.
Kino no kino, yeah. You'd say this week, actually. You'd say this week on Friday. So you'd say konshu no kinyobi.
And raishu
will be next week.
And rainen
next year.
Yeah, okay, so.
And then last week would be.
Wrong direction, aren't I?
Senshu.
Senshu no kinyobi?
Exactly, yes. Senshu no
kinyobi no goji Henry-san wa matemashita. Sorry.
Yeah. And then for time reference, we should mark this with ni as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
No kinyobi no goji ni Henry-san o matemashita.
Perfect. Good.
Imashita.
Yeah. If you don't want to say, for example, if we are here on Sunday and you want to talk about last Friday without getting into konshu, senshu, reishu, etc., there is a word you can use to mean the previous one, which you probably know this from EI and Kendo. Saki no.
Saki, yes, that was.
So this is the same as kisaki. It just means saki. It means the primary or the previous or the first or the end. Saki means lots of different things, but in this case, if you said saki no, this means the one just gone. Saki no kinyobi. Yeah, exactly.
Senshu no kinyobi.
Okay, any questions, guys, about state verbs and present continuous state? Cool, good. Okay, so just to really summarize, because I'd like you to move on from this because it's in basic and important stuff. Just to summarize then, the location for imasu and arimasu is ni. Oops. And the present continuous tense is verb in the TEFL Careful. Plus imas for everything, for anything. I mean, Yari, I know that we've done state continuation recently, so we had te arimashita, but this is purely for something which is ongoing rather than something that's resulted in a state. So we still use te imas. Yeah. Remember to use ni for the location. Okay, this is the main things to remember about the last lesson. Which dojo is that, Rob? In your background?
Hi, that is the Yamauchi Ha Yaido Dojo in Kamakura.
Oh, wow, cool.
So it's a friend of mine trains there. They're the old style where the kisaki goes straight down the back, etc.
Between the buttocks.
Yeah, but yeah, that's their dojo. So it looks better than a messy room.
I've decided to use the interior of Buckingham Palace as my background.
Yeah, why not?
Do you think Trump is going to have the White House as his background from now on?
They never carried him out on a face-first stretcher, but never mind.
Did anyone see him going out to the YMCA village people?
I haven't got to that part of the video yet.
Thing you've ever heard in your entire life.
Oh dear. How funny. What a way to end a presidency, huh? A press conference in a car park of a garden centre.
At least brilliant.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on, shall we, guys? Let me just grab the slide a second. Where are we? We are here. Okay, this is only kind of an auxiliary part of today. It's just to set the scene for politeness levels. And there's much more information regarding politeness levels than there is on this slide than what I'm going to explain today, because we only need to be aware of these 4 levels at the moment. So what we're working on now is we're focusing on using this green mas des politeness level. So this is good everyday polite Japanese that you can use all the time, anywhere. Most importantly, the people that you're most likely to be talking to are Japanese Budo teachers, I guess. In which case, this is perfect. You don't need to use anything else more than this. If you stick to this, you'll never have any problems. Just below that level, we will also be dipping into casual speech, or the plain form. So this is important because we have things like the infinitive, the dictionary form of verbs. And we need to sometimes drop down to this in order to make it clear that we're not talking about doing this. We're referring to we are making a reference to doing something rather than actually saying I'm doing it. I'll give you an example. If I want to say, I like cooking. I like cooking. The I like part of that sentence would be expressed in this green politeness level. So I would just say skides means I like skides. Okay, but if I put cooking, which is ryori o suru, if I put this into the green level, it makes it confusing. It sounds like I like cooking. It sounds like I'm cooking. I like. Sounds really weird. So we would normally take these subscripts, subclauses of a sentence like to cook, and drop them into the infinitive, into the casual level, so that it's clear, even in a polite sentence, which bits you're saying you're doing and which things you're referring to in an abstract sense. Yeah. So we don't need to. We're not going to practice this for weeks and weeks and weeks. There's also above the level we're doing at the moment. There's keigo, respectful speech, which breaks down into other categories as well. Ways of making your speech sound prettier. Sounds weird if you do it inappropriately, though. If you know your Japanese teacher quite well and you suddenly start launching into keigo, it sounds like you're suddenly separating yourself from him, and you've now entered into a kind of really formal conversation with them. So it's not a good idea to launch yourself into keigo without there being a good reason. Yeah. And then if you want to be really strongly commanding, or you want to be just rude to somebody, then there is a rudeness level of Japanese that you can use as well, which we won't study for months and months because I don't find it necessary. It's better to make polite, cutting remarks than it is to be rude, I think. Yeah. Any questions, guys? Steph, does on?
How do teacher would say to someone, I mean, someone would say to someone, please use the polite level? Is there a word for, or would they say the masu form? Would this, how would they, because there's keigo for the, that's an actual word. Are there words for the other levels?
I don't know, actually. Yeah, almost. I have read before what this is called, but I don't remember what it is. If you Google it, look up what's the politeness level of mas and des, it will probably come up straight away. I can't remember what it's called though, and I don't remember what this is either. Yeah, sorry. So here's a couple of examples, which this one here we're going to study today. This is sushi o taberu koto ga dekimasu. So dekimasu means I'm able to, and sushi o taberu means to eat sushi. So you can see this part here. This is how they link together. Let me just move you guys away for a second. So the sushi o taberu, this is in the casual speech part. I'm not saying I am eating sushi. I'm saying the eating of sushi I can do. So this is in the plain form, and then the expression I can do something. This is in the mass form. And then we did this a few weeks ago, didn't we? How to make negative requests. Suwaranai, to not sit down, is in the plain form, and then you say de kudasai. The kudasai is polite speech. So yeah. Steph, I think this is called teinego, and this is sonkeigo. Sorry, this is keigo. This is teinego, or something like this. I'll look it up and get back to you. Yeah. Est-ce qu'il y a des questions, mes enfants?
The kotoga, sorry.
So this is turning. This is converting a verb into a noun, which we'll do in about 3 minutes. Yeah. Any other questions, guys? Okay, so we're going to look at this this second thing now. So today's new topic is making the potential form the long way. So a really easy way to remember to say I can do something, I am able to do something, I have the ability to do something, is to make this long sentence, which is to take the verb in the plain present form, iku, taberu, suru, etc., and then just strap on the end koto ga dekimasu. That's all we have to do. So koto, as I said, just turns the verb into a noun, or it turns it into a substance, I should say, rather than a noun. And then you say ga dekimasu, which means I am able to do. It is possible. It is possible. Any of the verbs, though, that use suru, like benkyou suru, to study, unten suru, to drive, ryori suru, to cook. This has got shimasu on the end. Shimasu becomes just dekimasu. So if you want to say, I can speak French, I would say Fransugo ga. Sorry, not speak French. I can study French. Fransugo no benkyou ga dekimasu. Fransugo no benkyou ga dekimasu. There's no koto ga or anything like this, because suru, to do into to be able to, is just changing directly. Okay, so far, guys? Somebody's breaking into Rob's dojo. Okay, so the only thing is that this form is it's slightly polite, sometimes kind of a bit weird. It sounds a bit stilted, a bit kind of clunky, a bit mechanical. So we will learn another way of making this kind of statement about being able to. What else have I got on here? Dekiru. This isn't really important, but the word dekiru, to be able to, is made up of weirdly two words: deru, to go out, and kuru, to come. So somehow this combines to make to be able to, or to be ready to. So if I put some bread dough in the oven and leave it in there for the appropriate 42.5 minutes for it to be perfect, when I take it out of the oven, I say, pan ga dekimashita. The bread is ready. It's been made ready. Dekiru. Rather than, it doesn't mean I'm able to bread in that case. Yeah. Any questions, guys, before we do some exercises? All good? Okay. Sorry, Gilles, did you have a question? You're muted.
No, but I have a meeting right now, so I'm very sorry. I have to go.
Oh, okay, no problem. See you soon. This will be on YouTube later, so please catch up.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thanks a lot. See you soon. Bye. Right, this will go on to the short way after we've done some exercises here. So let me start with going in reverse order. Zandy? Sorry, I need to just catch this. Oh yeah, okay. So Zandy, how would you say I am able to pay? I am able to pay.
ごめんなさい、お金がありません。
So the word pay is harau. Harau. Harau.
Harau. I'm able harau. So am I saying deck?
Oh, no, use that form that you can see on the slide. Harau koto ga dekimasu, I think it would be.
Harau koto ga dekimasu.
Yes, just this. Harau koto ga dekimasu. And how would you say I cannot pay? I am not able to pay.
Harau koto ga dekimasen.
Perfect. Yeah, just this. Good. Nathan,
Koto,
I am.
So sorry, because I missed the beginning. I took a phone call. Koto ga dekimasen. So koto is what?
Koto turns a verb into a substance. It substantiates it. It like turns it into a noun kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Nathan, how would you say I am able to speak Japanese?
Nihongo o hanasu koto ga dekimasu.
Perfect. And I'm not able to speak Japanese?
Nihongo o hanasu koto ga dekimasen.
Perfect. Good. Harry, I am able to eat tempura?
Tempura o taberu koto ga dekimasu.
Good. And I'm not able to eat tempura?
Tempura o taberu koto ga dekimasen.
Perfect. Stefan, I'm able to go to Spain.
I'm able to go to Spain. Spain ni Espango,
It's Spain. No, it's
Spain.
Spain.
It's Espango for the language, but it's
Yeah.
Spain.
Oh no, it's also Spaingo for language as well.
Oh, Spaingo.
Yeah.
Spain. No.
Spaingo.
So sorry, I'm able to go. I'm able to go to Spain.
Yes.
Spain ni able to go kiru koto ga dekimasu.
Iku is the verb.
Iku de koto ga dekimasu.
Yes. And I'm not able to go to Spain.
Spain ni iku koto ga dekimasen.
Perfect. Good. Yadi, with my sword, I can cut bamboo.
Oh, bamboo.
Is
Ta.
take.
No.
Take.
Take.
Take. Yeah.
Take o shinken. Shinken ga take o kiru koto ga dekimasu.
Yeah. So with the shinken, what particle should you use to say?
Shinken no.
No, because it's take or, so it's shinken by way of my sword. By the way of my sword. Shinken.
Shinken wa.
No, it's watashi wa. It could be watashi wa or watashi ga. So shinken.
Ga.
Shinken de.
Shinken de. Okay.
Shinken de. Yeah.
Okay. Take o shinken de kiru koto ga dekimasu.
Perfect. Good. And I'm not able to cut bamboo with my sword.
Take o shingen de kiru koto ga dekimasen.
Perfect. Good. Yanis, how about I am able to cook curry, for example.
Kari o ryori dekimasu.
Perfect. And I'm not able to cook curry.
Kari o ryori dekimasen.
Perfect. Excellent. Good. Right, guys, before we move on to the next bit, I just want to show something to you. So for this form of potential form, so the long potential form, let's just have a quick look at the sentence structure. We have in a kind of subclause the thing that we're able to do. So let's do sushi or taberu. So leave everything in this sentence as it is. Okay, this will make sense after I've explained the next section. So this would normally be sushi or tabemasu, right? I eat sushi. All we have to do is just turn this into the plain form and put it into here. Leave everything else, leave the particles, everything else remains the same. So for example, if I wanted to say, let's see, this is going to sound really stupid. I am able to eat sushi with chopsticks with my friends in a toilet, for example. Something really silly. So all of this should just be the way that you'd normally say it. I eat sushi with chopsticks with my friends in the toilet. So that subclause should contain hashi de, so that's chopsticks, hashi de, tomodachi to, with my friends, toire de, because you're doing something there, sushi or taberu, so that remains intact. And then we just have this koto ga dekimasu. Okay, in this thing here, this ga is going to become vital when we do the short form. Okay, but just remember that for the long form, this remains intact. Any questions, guys? This will make sense why I'm emphasizing this in a second. Okay. Oops, sorry. This we can do. We can use the long form if we forget how to do the short form, but people don't usually use this form, to be honest. Usually they use the short way, which is much more complicated, but much quicker and much more natural. Let me start at the end and work backwards, because the easy ones we should do first. Are you ready? For suru, this becomes dekiru. This is the same in the short form and the long form. Ryori ga dekimasu. Unten ga dekimasu. This is easy. Kuru, to come, becomes korareru. Korareru, koraremasu. So many little doggies, Andy. And you have to spend time learning Japanese when you want to play with doggies. Oh. Inu to asobitai desu. Oh. Hello, doggies. Okay. Next one. Group 2 verbs. So this is hundreds of verbs. It's simple, but just more difficult to pronounce. We take the ru at the end of the group 2 verb and replace it with rareru, rareru, or raremasu to make it polite. Yeah, try saying this after a few pints of beer. So I can eat would be taberaremasu, taberaremasu. Okay, and then group 1 verbs is where we have a little bit of a mental challenge to do this. Let's do it really slowly. How can I easily do this? The general rule is take the mass form of any group 1 verb. Let's use ikimasu as our model. Instead of saying ikimasu, say ikemasu. That's the simple answer. The I sound before mas becomes e. Ikimasu, ikemasu. Ao, aimasu becomes aemasu, aemasu. Kaku, kakimasu becomes kakemasu. Oyogu, to swim, oyogimasu becomes oyogemasu. Harry, you're shaking your head, but we've done these, and the only thing that you have to remember is
I'm just trying to write it down fast.
Ah, okay. So don't write all these down, because it's the rule that you have to remember. Not all the verbs. There are hundreds of verbs. You can't write them all down. Just write down the rule. E sound becomes e. E sound becomes e. Now, where this becomes problematic, and this is where we have to really remember the hiragana chart, is we shouldn't rely on this rule to say make the mass form and make the E sound e, because when we get to oshimasu, it's not oshemasu. We should start all of our verb study by referring back to the infinitive first. So ao, kaku, oyogu, osu, matsu, shinu, yobu, yomu, and kairu. Yeah, kairu. What we should do is navigate from this line, the infinitive line, and drop down to the line below it. So this is why I said ao becomes aeru, aeru. Kaku, kakeru. Oyogu, oyogeru. This is easy so far. Su, osu, oseru. To speak, hanasu, hanaseru. So what I was trying to emphasize is don't start from the mass form like hanashimasu or machimasu, because you'll end up saying hanashemasu and machemasu, and these sounds don't exist in Japanese. We have to remember that these start from the infinitive. So osu becomes osemasu, hanasu, hanasemasu. Matsu, so machimasu doesn't become machemasu, it becomes matemasu, matemasu. Shinu, shinemasu, I don't think this is said actually. And then bu, yobimasu becomes yobemasu, yobu, yobe, yobu, yobe. Yomu, yomemasu, that's easy. And kairu, kairemasu, kaireru. Okay. Any questions? Go on, Harry.
Sorry, I'm not quite sure what we're saying. So, all right, okay, so the mass form of it is, okay, that's just casual.
What we're basically doing, guys, is we're creating a new verb when we make the potential form from group 1 verbs and group 2 verbs, actually. We're making a new verb. So the fact this goes from ao, this is a group 1 verb, to aeru, what type of verb is aeru? Anybody? Steph? Are you muted at the moment?
What type of verb in what type of group?
Yeah, what group is it from? Is aeru.
Second?
Yeah, it becomes a group 2 verb. All of these become, all group 1 verbs, when you make them potential form, they flip into becoming a group 2 verb because they finish with ru. So to turn these infinitives like materu, oseru into the mass form, we do what we do with group 2 verbs, which is chop off the ru and put mass on the end. If you wanted to turn it into the te form, go from the group 1 to the potential into the te form, we simply take off the ru and put te on the end. We don't need to do that complicated double te or unde or ite. We can forget all that. It becomes a new group. It joins the group 2 verbs. Okay? This is the most important thing.
May I say something?
Sure.
I think this is as easy as you do mass form from ru form, because
Yes.
you only go up and now you go down.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly this. Yeah, it's really simple to make mass forms from this. We just take off the ru and make mass. Yeah. Okay, now the bit before we do some practice, the thing I wanted to emphasize from what I said before was this now slightly changes the structure of our sentence, but just a little bit. It actually makes it a little bit simpler. For the short form, we make a small change. Wherever we previously used or, we now use ga. So for example, I can eat sushi. If I say I eat sushi, it's sushi o tabemasu. But I can eat sushi is sushi ga taberaremasu. That's the only significant difference we have to be aware of. Everything else is the same. For example, I can go to Spain. Well, Spain ni ikimasu would usually be to mean I will go to Spain. Spain ni ikemasu. Everything else remains the same. So when we have this long, I'm able to eat sushi with chopsticks with my friends in the toilet, the only thing that changes in this sentence now, let me just copy it out a second. is that I get rid of, and I replace o taberu with ga tabemasu. Any questions, guys? I'll give you a second to write it down if you want to make any notes. Okay, let's do some exercises then. So let's start with Yanis. I'm going to make slightly more long sentences than before because I want you guys to practice your vocabulary as well. And anything you don't know, I will help you with. So Yanis, this first one. I can meet you tomorrow at 10 a.m. in front of the station.
Ashita no 8 時午後
Hang on a second. That's 8 p.m.
sorry, not 8 時
I don't mind if you count it out on your fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
10時午後
午前。
午前 sorry.
Yeah.
明日の10時午前に、ステーション
Eki.
駅で、
Yeah. In front of? Do you remember this?
I don't know this in front
So,
of.
eki no mae.
駅の前。
De.
駅の前で、
Yeah.
I am us.
I am us. Excellent. Good. So this is using ao. The to meet becomes aeru, then becomes aemas. Yeah. Good. Well done. Can you read it one more time, please, Yanis?
明日の10時午前に駅の前で会えます。
Excellent. 明日の10時午前に駅の前で会えます。Everybody together? Go.
明日の10時午前に駅の前で会えます。
Perfect. Good. Yadi. So I'd like you to do, these are two slightly different sentences, but I'd like you to try both of them.
漢字が書けます。
Kakemas. Right, so let's just quickly, that was kaku, became kakeru, became kakemas. And then I can write in kanji. So this was I can write kanji. I can write in kanji.
漢字
Oops.
漢字で書けます。
Yes, exactly. Kanji de kakemasu. So we're just changing the particle. These basically mean the same thing, really, these two sentences, but it means you can do either. Good. Can you read the first one again, please, Yadi?
漢字が書けます。
And then?
漢字で書けます。
Good. Kanji ga kakemasu. Kanji de kakemasu. Can everybody read together? Dozo.
漢字が書けます。漢字で書けます。
Exactly. Good. Good. Okay, Steph. Can't you swim?
I'm sorry?
Can't you swim?
Oh. All right. Swim, no idea.
So this is oyogu. Let's do the transformation now. So oyogu would become
Oyogu, oyoge.
and then oyogemas.
Oyogemas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bear in mind, this is asking the negative question. Can't you
So
swim?
oyogemasen.
Yeah. Oyogemasen. And then as it's a question,
Ka.
ka. Exactly. Oyogemasen ka. Good.
Oyogemasen ka.
Yeah. Rob. Ich spreche Deutsch.
Yeah.
I can speak German.
That was my boss phoning to see what my health status was. So apologies. Go on.
I can speak German in the short form.
Deutsche do hanasemasu.
Deutsche go ga. So hanasemasu. Yeah, good. Hanasemasu. So we had, let's look at the transformation. Hanasu became hanaseru. Became hanasemas. Okay, Harry, because my legs hurt, I can't stand up. You're muted at the moment.
Ashi ga itai desu kara.
Good.
Okemasen.
So that would mean I can't get out of bed.
Oh, okay.
But I'd like you to start from the verb tatsu.
Tatsu. Tatemasen.
Tatemasen, good, yeah. Tatsu becomes tateru, becomes tatemasen. Tatemasen, good. Cool, good. Nathan.
Is there a difference between feet and legs?
Yeah, there is a little bit. So ashi normally refers to this long stump on the end of your body, which includes both your legs and your feet. If you want to specifically talk about your feet only without including your legs, then you say ashisaki. It's the same saki as I said before, like saki no kinyobi, ashisaki. Steph?
Sorry, itai is
painful.
Painful.
It's an E adjective.
Right. Okay. Is it also standing, or isn't it itai with the tai as the body and E as in straight up? I've heard that somewhere in training. When you're standing up straight, is there an itai form or something like that? No, maybe it was a.
I mean, itai is also means dead body. Maybe that's what they're asking you to be.
Yeah, stiff.
Okay, and Nathan, I'm working right now, but I can play with you tomorrow. This means I can socialize with you tomorrow.
Who is working?
Shigoto suru.
Tadaima shigoto o shite imasu.
Very good.
Ga ashita asobe.
Yes.
Asobemasu.
Yes, perfect. Good. Exactly this. So this was asobu, became asoberu, became asobemasen. Well done. You okay, Sandy?
That was very impressive.
Yeah, wasn't it?
I've no idea.
Well, Zandy, you're about to impress everybody as well with this one here.
Because it's early, I can't go home yet. Because it's early. Earlier. What's early then?
Hayai.
Hayai. Oh, I said hayai
Yeah.
in my head and I didn't say it out loud. Okay. Hayai. Hayai desu? No,
Yeah.
because. Hayai desu.
So how do we express because in a really easy way?
Hayai desu ne? Hayai desu ne?
No, that means it's early, isn't it? Hayai desu
Ka?
ka. Hayai desu kara.
Hayai desu kara.
Yeah.
Hayai desu kara.
Mhm.
Uchi karimasen? Uchi ni karimasen?
But can you just express the verb one more time?
Kairimasen?
So kairimasen would be I won't go home early, but I can't go home early would be
Kairenai.
well, kairenai is fine, but kairemasen, right?
Kairemasen.
Yeah. So this was kaeru, became kaeru. Sounds starting to sound more and more like Swedish, isn't it? Kaeremasen.
Kairemasen.
Kairemasen.
Kairemasen. Kairemasen. Hayai desu kara uchi ni kairemasen.
Good. And then to express yet, this I've actually written in here, mada. So you can put this in nearly anywhere, really. You can even put it in the beginning, say mada hayai desu. It's still early.
Yeah, mada hayai desu.
Yeah. So we can go here, we could go here as well. Mada uchi ni kairemasen.
So hayai is early, but it's also fast.
Correct. Yes. Two different kanji.
Okay.
But you can't use them as adverbs like this.
Right.
We'll do adverbs. We haven't done adverbs yet, have we? Have we?
Yes, we have. We have said hayaku.
Oh, we did. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So the difference between early and fast, hayai, means both early and fast. If you want to say, I want to go quickly, then you can say hayaku. You can turn this into the standard adverb by removing the I and putting ku at the end. Hayaku ikimasu, I will go quickly. But if you want to say I'll go early, you have to say hayame ni ikimasu. So it's expressed a slightly different way. Otherwise, there's no way of distinguishing whether you mean quickly, to move quickly, or to go early. So we have to have these two different ways of expressing this. And the same with slowly as well. So osoi means both slow and late. But if you say osoku ikimasu, this only means to go late. If you want to say to go slowly, you have to say yukkuri ikimasu, which means to go at your leisure. Let me move this up slightly. Okay, let us now do a few more. Can I delete the ones at the top? Let me save these actually.
Excuse, can I just jump in and ask one question? Because
sure, of course.
I missed the bits leading up to it. I think my guess with hanasemasu was lucky. I take it we take the verb kaku, drop it down to the e row.
Exactly. Yes.
So it becomes kake.
Yep. And then this actually becomes a group 2 verb. It would be kakeru.
Kakeru, and then you change that to then the kakemasu.
Yes, exactly this. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Let's do a few more. Just a second. Okay, Zandy, I can turn around left. So I've given you the verb already, mawaru. I can turn left. You're muted at the moment, by the way.
ごめんなさい。左
Hidari.
左に
Yep.
回ます。
Sorry.
回ます。
So just use the same rules we had before. We got mawaru. Okay.
Yeah.
And then this is still a group 1 verb. So this becomes mawareru.
回れる。
Becomes mawaremasu.
回れます。
Yeah. So this is hidari ni mawaremasu.
左に回れます。
Yes, good. Hidari ni mawaremasu. Everybody together?
左に回れます。
Yes, good. Okay. Yeah, Steph, go ahead.
Sorry, quick question, because why do we have to, so mawaru becomes mawareru becomes maware mas? Why don't we just drop the U and transform it into an A from the plain form? Why do we have to transform it? Yeah, but why do you add the? It confuses me to add to go through the mawareru form first, because mawaru becomes maware mas, right? Is it?
Yes. Yeah, no, I understand the question. It's because when we move on to doing slightly more complex verbs and functions, if we rely on using the mass form, we'll end up having to do twice as many steps because we'll have to jump back to the infinitive each time. So I want us to always use the infinitive as the basis of our study of verbs. Otherwise, we'll just end up having to go back and learn the infinitive version all the time.
Fair enough.
Because we'll sometimes put, for example, if I want to do more than one function onto a verb, for example, if I want to make the, let's see, Yadi, what was the difficult ones we did before with passive? Maybe passive and causative. If I want to say I was made to go to Tokyo, I was made to go to Tokyo, and I start with iku, and then I've got to make the causative form ikaseru, and then I've got to turn this into the passive form ikaserareru, and only then, I haven't jumped into the mass form at all yet. Only then I can turn this into the mass form. But if we learn this with using the mass form as our basis, then you'd have to say, well, let me show you how many more steps it is. Ikimasu, iku, ikasemasu. Sorry, that's the wrong way around, isn't it? Iku, ikimasu, iku, ikaseru, ikasemasu. And then you've got ikasemasu. Then you've got to lose that again. Ikase, back to ikaseru, then back to ikaserareru, and then you have to do ikaseraremashita. So you've got to do almost twice as many transformations, whereas just work on the plain form all the time and turn it into the polite mass form at the very end. Trust me on this, I'm a doctor. Actually, it's not true, I'm an engineer. I'm not a very good one at that, actually. Okay. Harry, I can eat raw fish. Harry?
Brain's gone.
For raw?
No, for it's not sushi. It's, oh my god, I've forgotten.
Sakana?
Oh yeah. Oh, do you want me to say actual raw fish, not
Yeah.
I don't know what raw is then.
Nama, like namabiru.
Okay. And would it be nama no sakana?
No, just nama sakana is good.
Nama sakana. Tabemasu or tabemasu.
So that's I eat raw fish. What's I can eat raw fish?
Taberaremasu.
Yes. Taberaremasu. So just to be clear, we start with taberu. We lose the ru and put on rareru. Tabe rareru. And then taberaremasu.
One or more there. Taberareu, taberareru.
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Taberareru. Yeah. Thank you. Good. Rob. Oh, Nathan's back.
Hi.
I can't. Sorry. Just before we go on, I want to see. Oh, there you are, Nathan. Okay. Cool. I can't answer this letter, and I've given you the verb already.
Kono tegame
Katami.
o kotaeraremasu.
Or?
O tegame o.
Is it or? Is it or?
Ga.
Ga. Yes.
Kono tegami ga kotaeremasu. Kotaeraremasu.
Raremasu. Yes, exactly. Kotaeraremasu. Okay, let's revise these guys. There's a few we haven't done yet. So let's go back to this one here. Tadaima shigoto o shite imasu ga ashita asobemasu. Dozo. Hayai desu kara mada uchi ni kaeremasen. Dozo. Hidari ni mawaremasu. Namasakana ga taberaremasu. And kono tegami ga kotaeraremasu. Cool. Kotaeraremasu. Yeah.
They're tongue twisters.
A little bit, yeah. Don't worry too much about at the moment. Don't worry too much about hitting every single vowel here. If you instead of saying kotae, you said kotae, this will be understood. Kotaeraremasu. Kotaeraremasu. Yeah. Where were we? Steph, I can hear his voice.
So hear and voice, sorry.
Okay, so voice is koe. Koe. Now, let's do. Rob, what are you doing? Looks like you're fading in and out of the matrix.
No, sorry, I just found a huge leak coming out of my ceiling. I can see the water running down the wall. So
actually, I'm going to introduce a little bit of new vocabulary here. So the word, do you remember what listen is, Steph?
I should, but I'm not.
So it's kiku.
Yeah.
It's to listen. Now, just as the same in English and probably other languages as well, there's a difference in listen and to hear. So listening is kind of something you're doing actively and voluntarily, isn't it? But to hear, this is kikoeru. Kikoeru. To hear. Now, here's the funny thing. This is an involuntary verb, actually. It's just something you do kind of passively. And because of that, you don't actually need to have, this doesn't have to be transformed into the potential. Kikoeraremasu. Kikoemasu. Kikoemasu. Yeah. You can just, it's got the potential built into it, kind of. I can hear is the same as I hear. So I can hear his voice would be.
Sorry. So So koe, so his voice, his, my watashi no, his, hanata no.
So that's yours, but kare
Oh,
is he.
oh, sorry,
Yeah.
kare. Oh yeah, his. His voice. Kare no koe.
Yep.
Kikoerimasu.
What would be the particle here?
Oh, sorry, ga.
Yep.
Kare no koe ga kikoerimasu.
So we just do it. It's a group 2 verb. So it's kikoemasu.
Kikoemasu.
Kikoemasu. Yeah. Yeah. What this actually means is his voice is audible. In fact, all of these statements, because the reason why we've put ga after the objects is actually to mark the objects as a kind of subject. So for example, sushi ga taberaremasu actually means sushi is edible. This is what you're literally saying. And you can even put yourself into the sentence. You can say, as far as I'm concerned, sushi is edible. Watashi wa sushi ga taberaremasu. So all of these are basically changing the focus away from you slightly and looking at the object and saying, this is edible, this is audible, this is visible. That's why we use ga instead of o. Harry, is that okay? Were you asking a question there? Ah, okay. So that's Steph, can you read that again? Kare no koe ga kikoemasu.
Kare no koe ga kikoemasu.
Everybody together? Okay. Yari.
Why does that become
Go ahead.
emas instead of raremas?
It's because this is kind of involuntary. It's something that you just do kind of passively, really. You're just saying that it's audible rather than it is able to be audible. Yeah, so there's a few of these. So for example, let's look at to see. This might be one of them anyway later, actually. Okay, let's do it now. So to look is miru. Miru. To be able to see, there's actually a completely separate verb for this. Yeah, mieru. Mieru. Which is just a completely separate verb to mean my eyes can see. And then to say that something is visible, to be able to be seen, we turn this into the group 2 verb, mirareru. Mirareru. Yeah. So for example, if you wanted to say, I can see Mount Fuji, if I put watashi wa in there just to kind of make it clear that I'm the topic, watashi wa Fuji-san ga miraremasu. This means, from my perspective, Fuji-san is visible. You could also say, watashi wa Fuji-san ga miemasu, which almost means the same thing. It just means that I can see Fuji rather than Fuji is visible. You can use these two sentences completely interchangeably, but it changes the nuance slightly to mean whether you can see it or whether everybody around you can see it, because it's clearly there. The clouds have moved, the trees aren't there. Fuji-san ga miraremasu rather than miemasu. Yeah. Okay. Where were we?
Me,
yeah.
and I can't believe her.
I can't believe it, yeah.
彼女が信じられません。
彼女が信じ
られません。
られません. Good. Okay, so this was group 2.
信じる.
Yeah. Good. We knock off the ru and leave the stem, shinji, and then just add raremasu. So shinji, and then you said this was negative, so raremasen. Good. Okay, Yari, can you say it again, please?
彼女が信じられません.
Excellent. Good. 彼女が信じられません. Okay, we're nearly at the end, guys. Yanis, I can't bend this spoon.
I don't know many things. What is the...
So to start with, spoon is spoon. Bend is mageru. And this is also, of course, group 2.
Spoon ga...
Sorry, yeah, I'm just going to be... Yes, good.
Spoon ga.
Yes, good.
Spoon ga.
Spoon ga.
Magerera. Sorry.
That's all right.
Mageraremasen.
Very good. Mageraremasen. So this was mageru. We just drop the ru and get mage. And then put remas. Yeah. Mageraremasen. Can you read it one more time, please, Yanis?
Kono spoon ga mageraremasen.
Mageraremasen. Yeah.
Mageraremasen.
Excellent. Everybody together? Kono spoon ga mageraremasen. Good.
Andy, can I ask a question about the previous shinjiraremasen?
Sure.
And the difference between that and shinjirarenai?
It's the same thing, but shinjirarenai is just casual conversation. Yeah. But this is often screamed out by people. Shinjirarenai! I don't believe it. Yeah. Okay. Guys, would you like a little bit of homework? How do I say no in Japanese? I'd like you to... Hey! I'd like you to try and do these first 2 for homework. And you can post it on Facebook if you like, or you can send it to me. And use your dictionaries, guys, to find individual words. Don't translate the whole sentence on Google Translate.
この経験は忘れられません.
And the final note I would give you guys is if your phones are up to it, I recommend downloading AEDICT. I think it's called AEDICT 3 Japanese. It's a free app. It's a dictionary app. It's available on Android, but I think you have to download it from the website for iPhones. You will need this at some point in this Japanese course. So, and it's not that big. It should fit on your phone. Right. Any questions, guys, about today? Any problems? Cool. We'll do more practice of this next week. Arigatou gozaimashita.
Arigatou gozaimashita.
本当にびっくりした。じゃあね、またね。ありがとう。またね。
Andy, can I ask you a quick question
Sure.
about cutting sword and names?
Yeah, sure. Yep. You're muted. You're muted.
For example, if you're cutting to the top of the head, like kendo, shaman.
Yeah.
Shaman, yeah, sorry. What would be the expression if you wanted to say cut to horizontal?
So if you're cutting to the head, if you're cutting at something, this is kiritsuke. Kiritsuke. And if you're cutting through, for example, to horizontal, this should be kirioroshi.
Does shomen means already that you cut to horizontal? Vertical. straight.
Yeah, so shomen just means cutting to the front, which normally suggests a vertical cut. But if you said shomen or kiru, it depends on the situation. It just basically means cut forwards.
I wonder what I'm looking for is the distinction between the different heights. So head horizontal and below horizontal.
So men or kiru. Is this for kendo or iaido?
Both, really. I just wanted to know, was there a generic way? Obviously, I know in kendo it's more obvious because you could say men.
Yeah, this is menuchi in kendo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wondered really what the equivalents were for horizontal and below horizontal, because obviously in Koryu we can cut below horizontal, and in Seitei we would cut to horizontal. And I wondered whether there was a very simplistic way of saying that.
Not a simplistic way. It's almost like English. You have to say
That's
to
the
horizontal.
Bush in Japanese.
Yeah.
Finally say no there.
So cutting to horizontal is suihei made kiriroshi. Suihei made. Suihei means horizontal, and made means up to. Suihei made kiriroshi. Kiriroshi. Kiriroshi.
Roshi and
men or kiritsuke.
So that's horizontal.
Yeah. Cutting below horizontal, suihei yori kiriroshi.
Suihei
yori.
Hey is H.
Let me write it out. Hang on. Oops. Suihei made kiri oroshi. This is cut to horizontal. So, horizontal. Men o kiritsuke. Cut at the head. And then cutting below horizontal, suihei yori kirioroshi, or you could say kirisageru. Kirisage.
Drop.
Yeah.
Sage. Sageru. Yeah. And the kiriotoshi is the cutting through, isn't it?
Well, kirioroshi and kiriotoshi are kind of used interchangeably.
Right.
Cut below. In fact, give me a second. Cut below horizontal. In fact, all these three words are often just interchanged. Kirioroshi, kirisage, and kiriotoshi. These are, depending on the ryuha, these can all be used interchangeably.
Right. That's great.
Is it wrong to say suihei kara suihei made kirioroshi?
Well, that would mean cutting
horizontal
from and to horizontal.
Yeah, to horizontal. Start and end.
Oh, you mean to like start from horizontal and then cut to horizontal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Horizontal here and here.
Right.
From horizontal to horizontal.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So suihei kara, suihei made kiriroshi. Kiriroshi. Kiriroshite kudasai.
Yes. Yeah. The polite way, as you said.
Yeah. Suihei kara.
Would you add maybe kaburi no sue kara?
I'd say zujo no.
Zujo no.
Zujo here. Zujo.
And what's the zujo?
This means above the head.
Zujo
no suihei kara zujo ni suihei kara zujo made suihei made kirioroshite kudasai.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay.
Let me just screen grab that quickly.
Sure.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. That's brilliant.
Welcome.
Cheers, Andy.
Okay. Thanks a lot, guys. See you soon.
Bye. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Sayonara.
Sayonara.